This video is about a book that inspired me to do some crazy things. Next week, in a few days, I'll be 53 years old. On my 50th birthday 3 years ago, the book Born to Run had inspired me to try and knock something off my bucket list. I did a full iron triathlon distance workout on my own in, I don't know, 15 and a half, 16 hours. I ran the marathon portion in a thin pair of Huarache sandals, and I was quite a few months or longer into a 100% plant-based diet. All that stuff was really inspired by the best-selling book by Chris McDougall called Born to Run. Now, I love swimming and I love bike riding. But after getting that goal done, I really got focused on the running aspect. This is my road bike. It's been sitting here with mildew on it ever since my 50th birthday. During the 112-mile bike ride, the gears were acting up a little bit, and I just never got it fixed and decided to focus on running. It's not very likely that there'll be a book called Born to Swim that'll be a bestseller, or a Born to Ride Bikes book that'll become a bestseller. I could be wrong. Like I said, I love the sport. However, both of those sports. However, I've just had too many close calls. A very low speed accident with the wheel getting, a tire getting hung up on the side of a bike trail or whatever can really seriously hurt a person. And drivers are just more distracted than ever. So frankly, I'm scared of a lot of people in cars. Those are just a couple of the reasons. Another big aspect of the giving up the bike for a while is people sit way too much. So sitting on a bike for hours on end, training for a 112-mile bike ride, probably not the optimal solution for most people. Swimming did not come easy for me. I ended up buying a video called Breaststroke for Everyone, and essentially used breaststroke for the 2.4-mile swim, and it went really well. I absolutely learned to love swimming and feel great coming out of the water. Where I did my open water swim was a scenic lake. However, training there, very often the beach and the water was loaded up with goose droppings, and I know for certain that the water borderlines on being toxic due to factory farming runoff from farm fields. And additionally, you know, you're swimming along and next thing you know, you're pushing a dirty diaper out of the way, or a tampon or whatever. The lake water in Ohio tends to be pretty nasty, and then you go to swim in a pool and those are loaded with chemicals. A couple of years ago, I was sort of excited about the prospect of setting a goal to swim around Key West. Once a year they do this. Every swimmer has a dedicated person in a kayak to watch over them. I think they get 8 hours or so to swim around Key West, and I believe it's 12 or 13 miles, whatever. But how would I get ready? I'd have to swim in pools with questionable water quality, or lakes in Ohio that are very often closed to the public. They're toxic. So as usual, all roads end up leading back to running, which is simpler, far less expensive. I don't have to get my bike tuned up. I've figured out how to run 100 miles a couple times, 2 for 2 on the 100-mile distance, with 0 trips to the orthopedist or the chiropractor. Just so far, no injuries. Recently, I spent about a week moving in-laws from one apartment to another, hauling heavy stuff, splitting lots of logs into firewood, hauling it, stacking it, etc., pulling around a log splitter, just heavy manual work, productive, what I call cross-training. In years past, had I spent that many hours doing that type of work, my lower back would have been hurting possibly for weeks, which really would have cramped my style in terms of training to run 100 miles. The key to turning yard work, gardening, house cleaning, into cross training is essentially the same as the key to athleticism, which is really awareness, a mindfulness about exactly how you're doing things, posture, breathing, etc. Another example of productive, useful cross-training is something as simple as manually washing the dishes. It's been months now since I've run our dishwasher. I simply stand there by the sink, barefoot on a hard tile floor, and wash those dishes and let them dry in the open air. So as boring as washing dishes typically is, doing it mindfully, focusing on pelvic tilt, breathing into somewhat tight lower abs, working on neck posture, operating from the core. It's chi dishwashing. For now, I've got near term 2 more 100-miler attempts, one in September, one in November, totally focused on those. Trying to get 3 for 3 this year at 100-milers. At some point, I'll put some air back in these tires, get this thing tuned up. I miss some of the places I used to go on this bike. And I have been getting in the pool just a little bit to do some loosening up. But again, fully supporting my own body weight with using the core strength is the main thing. And most of the exercises I do are just body weight exercises, simple things you can do anywhere with no equipment. That seems to be what's working best. And in December, it will be 5 full years on a completely plant-based diet. That is the other key to proper fueling and recovery.